Hello and welcome to the post-July the 4th edition of Political Smackdown. We have our usual crew except for our almost usual crew, Roger Harris, who is joining us as Betsy has some things to do today.
I'm like algae in a reflecting pool. I just keep coming back.
Well, we're happy to have you with us.
I wish we could scrape that blue off of you.
But Andy Dedman is here as usual, as well as Wes Westmoreland, and I'm your host, Mike Philbeck. Good bit of local news that has some political ramifications to some degree this week, and we're going to start out with local news. We'll start with the tragic death of one of our paramedics, Ashley Moore, who was tragically killed when a passenger vehicle hit the rear end of her EMS vehicle in the edge of Gaston County on 74 while they were transporting someone to the hospital. She was thrown out and killed. The person who hit them has been charged with, he's had multiple DWIs, and this is another one, and he was apparently traveling, one report said it could have been as much as 100 miles an hour when he hit him. And he has been denied bail for now and also charged with second-degree murder. But the tragedy of it really is for the paramedic, her family, and for Cleveland County. The EMS is one of our public safety things, and they are there to help people in need, and this lady was helping people in need. She was 9 years as a paramedic. Roger, I'll let you get us started. What a tragic thing.
It was awful, and I was talking with the principal of Crest High School. Her son just graduated Crest High, preparing to go into the military, to the Marine Corps. So this is a family that believes in service, and it's just outrageous. It was, in my judgment, not really an accident. When the guy that hits her is a multiple DWI, driving without a license, has done this many times. This was not an accident. It was a trend with this man, and I am pleased that the DA is bringing maximum charges against him. It's what should have happened.
Andy?
Well, it is sad, Mike, and you know, you just think about an ambulance, as big as those things are. They've got lights all over the back of that thing, Roger. Mm-hmm. I mean, to be so drunk that you couldn't see it, and they say at least 100 miles an hour.
That's what Travis Page said, the DA.
I mean, it boggles the mind. And I really think the DA is right. I think prosecute him to the very nth degree of the law will allow. He deserves it. And even worse than that, he's going to have to live with it. And that's a heavy burden I have to carry.
Wes?
Well, I agree completely with everything that's said. I guess the only thing that I would add to it, you know, this is just a reminder of what these first responders, how they put themselves at risk every day for us. And, you know, we think about that with fire. We think about it with police. A lot of times we don't think about these EMS folks. And in reflection of this, thinking about some of the situations that they go into, domestic violence, and some of the things that they see and have to deal with on a daily basis, and of course lives at risk, obviously, we all owe these people a great debt. Their salaries are irrelevant to what we owe them, and really appreciate all that these folks do for us every day.
Well, I concur with all that's been said. It's a tragedy on many fronts. This lady was only 37. She has a son, I'm told, that is at boot camp at Parris Island. I'm sure he's having to get leave. I bet it takes an act of Congress to get leave from boot camp, but I'm sure for this purpose he can. But I don't know what all the arrangements are. And it's really a tragedy for the family of the perpetrator. Some of them probably had no idea that he had this problem. So it's a tragedy on a lot of fronts. But yeah, it is a case that, given his history, that I think y'all are right that it does need to be prosecuted.
They need to throw the book at him.
All right. Well, let's move on to something not tragic in that way, but really a sad day in Cleveland County history. It was announced Monday morning, and we're taping on Thursday, the 9th of July, and it was announced Monday morning that the Nippon Fiberglass, which many of you still know as old PPG plant on Washburn Switch Road, announced its closing at the end of August permanently. I understand that they are down to about 250 employees. Business has been declining. They're also closing the former PPG plant they bought in 2017 when they bought this one, I think, from PPG, the one in Lexington. And it impacts these employees directly, but this has much larger impact than just that. It impacts Cleveland County government. It's a large property tax base for the Cleveland County and for the city of Shelby. That plant was voluntarily annexed into the city a number of years ago before they bought it. And it was after my time with the city, but it was annexed. But it's a huge water and natural gas customer for the city of Shelby, as well as a large tax base. Wes, what are the ramifications of this for Cleveland County?
It'll be pretty significant. I don't know that we'll fully know. You remember when J&C Dine closed, that impacted the water usage in Shelby, which impacted the cost for everybody, because you've got to keep those at a certain level. The city takes a transfer from the gas profits, I guess, that helps keep our individual gas rates down. So obviously an impact on utilities, the property tax you mentioned. You mentioned before we came on the impact of the tipping fees at the landfill. So there'll be a lot of these. Again, in some reflection of this, and of course the jobs. I think that goes without saying, but in reflection of this, we hear these announcements all the time, new business coming, which is all great. We don't fully realize maybe the impact that those businesses have until something like this happens and they close. And then over the next year, we're going to see just how this does impact. And I guess the good news is that PPG's going to be opening a new plant, and I'm told 110 new jobs there, so hopefully that'll help pick up some of this pressure for the city and the county.
And additionally, I understand from talking with city officials currently that the new PPG plant will be up and running, they think, in about 18 months. It will also be a relatively large natural gas and water customer for the city and sewer customer. Won't be to the extent the old PPG used to be. What closed down did a fraction of the business that PPG did at its height. I can remember, Andy, when they had 800 to 1,000 employees way back.
Yeah.
And
Mike, that was the first major industrial outside company that we got in here.
And a lot of folks don't realize it, but when you lose these large water customers and large gas customers as far as profitability for the city, it can make a percentage impact greater than people realize because they use so much. Roger, what are the ramifications from your point of view?
Well, my own mother worked at that plant when it was PPG many decades ago, and my guess is that there's not many families in Cleveland County that didn't have a family member that worked there at some point in their career. It's hard when you lose that number. I've read 250. I've also read news reports they've got as many as 500 employees. So I don't know how many they got. I've read nothing about any severance packages. Unemployment, I think that's $350 or $375, something like that for 12 weeks. That's not a lot of money. I think the unemployment rate in Cleveland County is about 4% or so. It's going to be hard for those folks to have jobs. When you're out of work, I've been there. It's the first thing you think of in the morning when you wake up. It's the last thing you think of at night when you go to sleep. It is a severe impact on these families, and I hope for the best for them.
Andy?
You think about the history of this place for them, and then what was then called fiber, hurt Celanese, now it's Celanese, and now it's, I think it's some kind of storage thing now. I've lived it my whole life around there, and you saw what an employer that large hit, the ramifications of it that ripple through your economy. And it's not just here with our fiberglass. They also shut down their Dutch subsidiary they had there, and also one in the United Kingdom. They're getting completely out of fiberglass. So, I've heard in the past that, of course, Chinese have always getting into everything, and they had several fiberglass, and they were I think there's accusations they were dumping it on the market at one time. Hadn't heard anything about it in quite some time, and I don't know if they're just not using fiberglass like they used to. Who knows? I mean, you can remember back in the 70s when we were all wearing leisure suits. So fiber couldn't make that stuff fast enough to go in them. But I mean, it's just markets change, and it's been a shell of itself for quite some time. And the other thing too, and I can remember when J.T. Scruggs was the plant manager there. One time he was saying, well, it was such a huge competitor within PPG. He said, when I'd have to go to Pittsburgh and make a case for my budget, you're sitting there with the paints part of it that's got 100-year-old equipment that still works fine. And I have to tear down a furnace every so many years and rebuild it. So it is just cost prohibitive. If you don't have the market for it, guys, you just can't make it. I mean, especially something that's that intensive with all the, I know how much natural gas they were using to fire those furnaces, but it was a huge amount. So, but I can remember back when I was just a kid, you could always find out who worked there because they come home with fiberglass all over them. Now that was back in the day.
Mama's clothes were washed separately.
I remember back in the day when middle school was called junior high school, and we went in one of my junior high classes, we went up there and toured that plant, and they gave us those big green marbles.
Yeah.
And we all got a few to bring home and play marbles with. And they were so heavy, it was hard to take your shooter, as we called it, and knock those big green ones out of the circle because they were so heavy. Well, if there's anything positive about it, is that there's been quite a bit of development of new industry here in the last several years, for which we're grateful, and it's not as large an impact as if it had happened back when it had 700 or 800 employees and we weren't over most of the textile jobs going away after NAFTA. So I think we will survive it, but it is a very unfortunate thing. One more small bit that won't take long, I don't think, to talk about. We've talked about it over and over, but finally the bidding for the old Marion School property that started, I think, in early April is over, and one more, one less is the winner of the bid at $620,000 for that school. Now it's up to the school board either to accept or that bid or reject all bids, which is their legal right. Andy, what will they do and what will happen now?
Well, my understanding is pretty much over and done with for the most part. I mean, I never would have thought they'd got $620,000 for that property, Mike. You and I have talked about it several times from our perspective as realtors. And I just saw a lot of cost involved in it, and that would have to be remediated. But now this organization has got, I think it's finally won it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's over.
It's
10-day
over
period
with.
ended, yeah.
So they've got it, and now it's sort of like the dog that caught the car. What are you going to do with it now? That's going to be the question.
Well, they've got it provided the school board accepts the bid.
Well, net gain of $500,000 for the Cleveland County Schools. It's a win, obviously a win for them. They were willing to pay for it. And from what I understand about their plans, it's a win for the community. So, good deal.
Roger?
That's my thought. Marion School was built about 75 years ago to serve children, and now it's going to continue to serve children. That's good for the community.
Well, I think so too. One more one less helps foster children and is a ministry in and of itself, and I think that they will do enough to the building that it will continue to fit into that community okay. And I think it's probably the Ebenezer Baptist folks the bid before this. They would have probably done it good. There was an individual, Jerry Allen, who bid. Don't know what Jerry's plans would have been, but there were 3 bidders, and they kept bidding against each other for 3 months.
Yeah. Started at 140,
Yeah,
got up
well,
to 620.
That would have been a contracted deal
That's
they
right,
could have
with
done.
Preservation, North Carolina.
But then I think the original first bid was like $250 from Jerry Allen, if I remember right. So it's gone from $250 first bid up to $620. And it is somewhat of a surprise to me it brought that much, but I'm sure they have a use for it that justifies it. We'll be back for the second half of Political Smackdown, and we'll talk about what Governor Stein said and did about the North Carolina budget.
Chef Paul Prudhomme once said, "You don't need a silver fork to eat good food." Well, on Cleveland County Kitchen, we don't have a silver fork, but we sure do serve up lots of good food. Hi, I'm Deborah Blanton. I hope you'll join me for the next Cleveland County Kitchen. Each month, we offer a complete farm-to-table experience. We visit local growers, we learn about nutrition, and wrap things up with wonderful meals prepared by our guest chefs. It's a lot of fun. I hope you'll join me for the next Cleveland County Kitchen.
These lines, like the creases in my father's hands, show the hard work and sacrifices of a line worker. These lines are the connections my father helped build between people, businesses, and organizations. They tell the story of how we invested in ourselves. We're public power, and these lines are our lines.
Last week, we were able to report to you that the North Carolina House and Senate were on the day we taped passing the state budget. There wasn't really any doubt. It was a pretty bipartisan budget with 9 of the 20 Democrats in the state Senate voting for it, while 2 Republicans voted against it because their ferries down on the coast were impacted with some fees. And then in the Senate, the House of Representatives, 22 of the 47 Democrats voted for it, I believe, and then the 2 unaffiliated that used to be Democrats. So it was a very bipartisan vote. On July the 7th, this week, Governor Stein held a press conference and he gave many reasons why he did sign it and many more reasons that he didn't like in it. But what are the ramifications of Governor Stein? What are some of the things in it, Andy? And you get us started.
Well, the main thing that I took away from it, and this is kind of an inside baseball thing, but in the past, the governor has always been one of the stronger governors in the country, really. I mean, mainly from board appointments and that sort of thing. Well, they took a butcher knife to it. They removed 84 of his 115 appointment powers. They're gone. 13 boards and commissions. 73% reduction in the people he can appoint. Now, there's not that many of them that are actually paying jobs. This is stuff people would have an interest in, sort of like you were on the local government commission, just to be of service.
And the governor has, I believe it's 3 appointments on the local government commission. I don't know if they changed any of that or not.
Well, I hadn't got the whole list of it, but that, to me, was the biggest takeaway. They keep trying to neuter the governor.
Actually, the governor has 4 appointments.
And it's a continuation of something that's been going on ever since they took over. And, you know, should they look at some of this? I don't know. I just think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's the way I look at it. But these guys running things now, they're always in search. They got a solution for any problem they can find, so they go looking for a problem. And they're going to fix it, and that's by taking it away to the governor.
Correct my mistake, I was right the first time. The governor appoints 3 public members of the local government commission, and then 4 are there by virtue of their council of state or Department of Revenue, and the speaker and the pro tem appoint 1. That makes 9. I was right the first time. Wes?
Well, I would argue that some of those things were broken, and that's why they needed to be fixed, but that's a separate debate. You know, the governor said what we did moves the state forward in a meaningful way. It gets a lot of things right. The governor apparently was disappointed. He wanted to keep taxes up and not let them drop as the state met certain revenue goals. He wanted to continue to tax corporations, which certainly impacts their ability to do business, like Nippon in North Carolina. He wanted to keep nearly 800 unaffiliated positions open, or unfilled positions open. So I think the budget, he's right, it did get a lot of things right, but thank goodness it got things right that are different than what he had wanted. It does keep opportunity scholarships, which has been wildly popular throughout the state, increases funding for education almost across the board, including here at the community college. So by and large, I think it was a good budget. and I don't think the governor had much choice. The budget was going to go through with or without his signature. He had enough sense to sign it, and so he gets to take credit for a lot of what's good in the budget without taking the blame for what he wanted bad.
Sounds like good politics to me.
I will not deny that he's a good politician.
Well, Mr. Harris.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to be shocked if you don't tell us one thing that was terrible in the budget.
There were, it's sort of like a supreme pizza. You know, some of the toppings you like and some of the toppings you don't like, but you get the pizza anyway. There were some good things in the budget, and there were some things that were lacking. The pay raises for beginning teachers was really, really good. Bring starting teacher pay up to $48,000. They got a big increase. There is a one-time bonus for teachers. If you're less than 15 years, you get $500. $500. Now that's before taxes, but you know you're going to divide that $500 by 12 months. So you got that. The largest overall teacher pay raise in 15 years is what I've read. But when you take zero last year and combine it this year, then it's kind of easy to get those things. My biggest complaint with the budget, there's a lot of things good in it, as I say, but my biggest complaint is it does not invest nearly enough in veteran teachers. The beginning teachers got a really, really good raise, but teachers with more than 15 years experience, and that's your leaders in the schools, those teachers with more than 15 years experience, their increase was about 5.5%, which is less than inflation over the last 3 years. So their purchasing power, they're making less money in real dollars than they did 3 years ago. But there were some good things. We've got to have a budget. There were raises for public safety officers, a lot of good things.
Well, you didn't say the one I thought you'd say.
Which one's that?
How much COLA did the retirees get?
As much as we got in the last budget.
You did get a 2.5% one-time bonus,
One-time
but
bonus.
no COLA.
Yeah, and
as has been the practice.
And, you know, Tim Moore keeps calling that a COLA bonus, which is about like talking about a round square. But you know, a bonus is better than no bonus. Of what we got last time.
Well, I'm also glad the governor signed it. There are probably some things in it I don't particularly like. I'm not going to get into, but it did accomplish a lot, and it was well past the time it should have been passed and signed. So I'm glad we got it done. Lastly today, before we go to the lightning round, let's talk briefly about one of the Supreme Court rulings. We talked about one last week. We'll talk about a different one for a minute or two here. Last week, the Supreme Court ruled that the states may say that in women's sports, only biological women at birth, females at birth, can participate in women's sports if that's the decision of the individual states. 27 states, including North Carolina, have now passed such a law to prohibit transgendered male to female from participating in women's sports. The Supreme Court said that it does not violate, is it Title VII and Title IX, I believe?
I think it's just Title IX.
Title IX.
Title IX and 14th Amendment.
All right. Wes, what are your thoughts about that particular ruling? Good, bad? It was a 6-3 vote.
Well, it's shocking to me that the three women on the court dissented, apparently wanting boys in their locker room. It still defies logic that the Democrats want to die on this hill, but you know, it's common sense. Obviously, boys shouldn't compete in girls' sports. Common sense. Thank goodness they ruled this way.
Andy?
Well, this is one Democrat ain't gonna die on that hill, Wes.
Good
And
for
I think
you.
I got another one right here too. Well, when you get down to it, when you take somebody who is born male, they grow up and all that, they've got the muscles, they've got everything. And when they change however to another sex, that doesn't go away. You still got.
Don't describe it as a family show.
Well, I understand. I'm not going to do that. But let's just say it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, basically, is what we're looking at. So, yeah, I mean, this is a waste of time in my book.
Yeah.
Well, Roger, 23 states, mostly with Democratic governors and legislatures, have not passed such a law.
That's right. And you know, there are obviously inherent physical differences that are relevant to athletic performance. It's just that simple. I think Andy's right. You're going to find a lot of talking heads on MSNBC, but I don't think you're going to find a dozen Democrats that see it the way that those folks
Maybe
do.
not in Cleveland County.
No.
Yeah, around the South, it'll be largely supported by your old-timey
right.
Democrats that are still not smart enough to switch.
Yeah, but you know what Supreme Court.
Well, I don't know how to take that bite.
The Supreme Court did not say that Title IX requires transgender girls
Right.
to be barred. It just left it up to the states.
Right.
So if you could play in your state last week, you can still play. If you couldn't play in your state last week, you still can't
So
play.
it's still going to be an issue in the country.
That's right.
In a lot of states.
But it's gonna get kicked down to the locals to take care of it on the state level.
And that's the way they do sometimes.
Yep.
All right, we're going to go to the lightning round. Roger, we'll treat you like a guest and let you lead off.
Donald Trump says so many crazy things that it starts to sound like a white noise machine at night. It's just in the background. But Mike, at the NATO summit last week, this guy went full Cocoa Puffs. He said that the missiles that were fired on ships in the Strait of Hormuz were fired by the Islamic Republic of Japan. He referred to the Ukrainian President Zelensky as President Putin and did that a number of times. He doubled down on Greenland, said it needs to be controlled by the United States, and fell asleep several times during the meetings. Folks, Grandpa is not okay. Congress needs to do its job.
Andy?
You know, I think it was really interesting in the New York Times. They call the main Senate campaign a slow rolling disaster. So we are finally ready. Mr. Plattner finally, he's decided that he's going to stop his campaign. How many rape allegations does it have to be before there's enough to knock a guy out? People stayed behind this guy way longer than they should have. I just wish they had somebody else to choose from in a primary.
Andy? Excuse me, Wes.
Please don't do that. Well, in the same week that the Supreme Court ruled against President Trump's attempt to deny birthright citizenship, Trump lobbied to overturn the suspension of American soccer player Florin Balogun so that he could represent America against Belgium in the World Cup tournament. What you may not know is that Balogun was born in the United States because the airline determined that his mother was far too along in her pregnancy to fly home to the United Kingdom. Florin Balogun, who President Trump fought so hard to defend, is an American citizen by birthright.
Well, I'm going to have something a little different. One of the people at this desk, Wes, has seen what I'm about to show you, and my wife got the one I'm going to show you. She got a letter from a place in Virginia called Ready to Register Incorporated, that when you open it, it says that there may be a problem with your register to vote in North Carolina. You need to register now, if that's the case, at least 25 days before election date. And it tells you how to do it online, how by mail, and it even has a self-address, address to the Cleveland County Board of Elections where you can put your your registration application in it. Well, knowing that my wife has rarely ever missed either a primary or a general election, if ever in our adult lifetime, we called Clifton Philbeck, the director here, and Clifton looked Patty up, and she's registered, has voted every time. He told me to throw it in the trash. He didn't know why we got it, but he had a number of people walk in over there with them. So I'm not telling you to throw it in the trash. You may want to check with the Board of Elections, but there are a number of people who are duly registered that are being led to believe they may not be. And as Roger pointed out beforehand, it could be that some of them will fail to do anything and just think they can't vote when they can. So make sure you're registered, but this is probably bogus if you know you're registered. We hope you've enjoyed this week's Political Smackdown. Come back and join us again next week for another edition of Political Smackdown.